So guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to another Johnny Harris video, and this one is China's rush into Africa explained. I'm doing quite a lot of reactions at the moment. I don't know why. I sort of went through a stage for the last month and a bit that I wasn't posting as much, and I guess I'm making up for lost time. I don't know, but I'm enjoying doing reactions, and I'm sort of doing diverse kind of videos. I'm literally like doing random stuff, just sort of what I want to see, really. Learning about what's going on, because again, I don't know much about the situation. I know China has quite a big actually a really big influence in Africa, but I don't know the in-depth details. To what I know, they've been building like I don't know, Chinese-owned businesses in Africa. I don't actually know, to be honest. I just know they're building stuff in Africa and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna learn through this video, as I guess some people watching this will do as well. But yeah, hopefully going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see extra reactions. I posted 2 extra reactions yesterday, plus over 100 over the past year and a bit that I've posted over that time. But yeah, if you want to find that, links are all there. Same to my second channel, I've been posting some different style content related to the World Cup if you want to see that. But let's just jump into this, man.
It's January 2017 at the headquarters of the African Union here in Ethiopia. An IT engineer is looking at the servers in this building, and something seems off. The engineer notices that often in the middle of the night, these servers are connecting to some server in Shanghai and uploading emails and audio files.
Okay.
The African Union headquarters was built in 2012, but it was not paid for by any African nation.
The impressive new headquarters of the African Union, entirely funded by the Chinese
So I am kind of right. They sort of built a lot of structures and stuff.
government.
This building was a $200 million gift from the Chinese government. It was designed and built by Chinese firms with Chinese money. And yes, the servers were installed by Chinese engineers, who, it appears, left an intentional backdoor into the servers so that they were easily accessible. The African Union IT team eventually removed these Chinese servers and installed new ones. The Chinese government literally offered to install them for them, but they declined. The local IT people also swept the building, and they found microphones embedded in the furniture and in the walls. The whole building was bugged and had been feeding audio and internal emails to China for like 5 years since the building was built. China building a headquarters for the African Union and then spying on it is a pretty good symbol of what China is up to in Africa. And that's what this video is about. It's about how a growing China has rushed into Africa, mainly by building a bunch of stuff. Roads, trains, dams, mines, ports. These projects are a part of China's growth as a superpower. And it shows how this country is projecting its power on the continent of Africa.
But there are questions here over why the headquarters of such an important African organization is entirely the work of Chinese construction, labor, and money.
Okay, so there's this very...
I just don't understand why spying would be their thing. They're like, China like to sort of do sneaky things, don't they? And I say China, the government. Like, where I've learned about like how they'll have like students in the US sort of learning about a certain thing. I don't know, learning about a certain technology, maybe how they make a certain car or a phone, and they'll sort of use a student, and they'll use him to sort of suck out information and sort of give it to China, and then they can build their own sort of versions, copying that kind of whatever it is that they're studying, right? That's just an example. Yeah, there's obviously, you see it from the outside perspective, and it's like flipping hell, this is so wrong, but it works, man. It works, and that's why you see China booming, whether you like it or not. It just works. They've just sort of said, you know what, fuck it, man. We don't care how anyone else looks at us. We're just going to do it our way.
Predictable thing that you see time and time again as countries get powerful. As a country gets rich, they often start looking outward, both economically and militarily. Let me explain what I mean here. 50 years ago, China was a very poor country with a huge population. But eventually they opened up to the world. They opened up their huge population as a workforce for cheap labor, and their economy exploded.
China's agrarian.
Kind of crazy.
Urbanizing fast, you betcha. But still agrarian.
Most in terms of land, not population.
Come on, Michael.
No, you're wrong about this.
So now China is a very rich country. And remember, rich countries start looking outward. How can they project their power, connect with other countries to continue their growth? They do this for a couple of reasons. The first one is the economic reason. In the same way that the US got really rich and prosperous and started to look outward to China for cheap labor, China also got rich. And its labor eventually got expensive, wages went up, and China needed its own option for cheap labor and new growth opportunities. So they started pouring huge amounts of money,
different
like
countries,
$300 billion huge, into Africa.
Oh, I see then. So they're using them for like the manufacturing of items and stuff, right? Instead of using now their own people because the wages are going up and up, they're now using people in the same sort of situation that their people were in 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, for the same exact reason.
Okay, so that's the economic reason.
That's
China
kinda crazy.
grows really fast, their growth is slowing down, so they need to invest in emerging economies, is what the economists will call it. Economies that haven't developed very quickly yet, but that with a little bit of investment could start to grow. Untapped markets. But the economic explanation is only half the story here. In China, economics and government power are not very separate. So to understand what China is really up to, you have to understand the geopolitical motives. And to do that, we gotta look at a map. Here are all the countries that China has projects in.
Flippin'
and yes,
hell.
I just highlighted every single country
bar
on the
one.
African continent. I mean, besides this one down here, this little tiny country of Swaziland, they're the one holdout on all of this.
What
These
the
projects
fuck?
range from transportation projects like roads and trains, to energy like oil and dams, to real estate projects like housing developments, and then mining for things like copper. You have everything from a
Jeez.
shoe factory in Ethiopia to a $6 billion Chinese-financed dam in Nigeria, to a massive suspension bridge in Mozambique, the longest in Africa.
Flipping hell, what the hell?
I mean, these projects are everywhere, even here on this tiny...
See, with this suspension bridge, what is their idea? Like,
These projects are
is it because there's not profit?
longest in
I want to just see it.
Africa.
It's not gonna. This isn't gonna profit them, right? Or will it in some way that I don't know? Or is it like for the sort of the factor of like making them look good to like people from these African countries? Is it to make them look good and like shine a light on, I guess, China doing these good things for the country? Or is this like connecting maybe some sort of factories or something? Like, this is crazy, man.
I mean, these projects are everywhere, even here on this tiny island off the
Cape
coast,
Verde.
where China has poured
Jeez.
millions of dollars to build housing, a stadium, an auditorium, a library,
What?
as well as their national parliament. China built it
Bruh.
all. There are too many of these projects to even count.
mental,
and
you know.
honestly, if you take it as a whole, a lot of these projects have been a major benefit and economic
I mean, you can't
stimulus
really argue
to these
against it.
countries' economies. But why is China doing this? What are they up to? Well, in addition to all the economic value of investing in emerging markets, China's president also claims that they are doing this in the name of cooperation and friendship.
坚持以非洲方式解决非洲问题。
The African way. Let's dig into this and actually see what these projects look like and how they are built, and if it truly is the African way, whatever that means.
What the fuck does
Okay,
that
so
mean?
there's this really impressive rail system that China built in Kenya. It goes from Nairobi to Mombasa in just under 4 hours, which is
Flippin' hell.
faster than any train in the United States.
And probably
which,
the UK.
Let's be honest here, isn't really saying much because
Yeah, the US train's not great from what I've heard.
here in the United
But-
States we don't really know how to build trains anymore. We used to be really good at it, and now we're not. It's kind of a shame. And anyway, look at this train in Kenya.
Jesus Christ, man.
This railway system was a $3.6 billion project, the most
What?
expensive infrastructure project since Kenya's independence. And it was mostly entirely paid for by a giant
God damn, I
loan.
look so white. Oh my god, bro. I hate this camera so much, man. It drives me insane. I'm gonna have to change my lighting because flipping hell, man. I hate this camera so much. Basically, I can't use my camera. It's not working. My good camera's not working, and this webcam just makes me look like a ghost, man. Again, I'm pale, but this does not do me justice at all, bro. I mentioned it in my last video, my first video I done today. It just drives me insane how my camera's not working. That better. Well, I don't look like I'm a flipping ghost now, but for God's sake, man. I just looked at myself in the camera and I'm like, I can't live like this, bro. I look so
since
flipping
Kenya's
white.
independence. And it was mostly entirely paid for by a giant loan from China's state-run bank. So
It's a
it was
loan?
financed by China, designed by Chinese engineers, and then built by Chinese construction firms that sent Chinese workers to hire locals and manage the project. And now it's a Chinese company that actually runs the thing. If you ride this train, you're gonna see all of the safety announcements and all of the documentation in Chinese,
What?
in Mandarin. It is very clear who financed and built this thing.
Are they trying to make them learn Chinese or something? Like what? That's so weird.
China just parachuted in and plopped this thing down in Kenya. And now Kenya has billions of dollars of debt that
Yeah,
they have
that's-
to pay back
that's
to
not-
China eventually.
not
In fact,
good at all.
72% of all of Kenya's debt is owed to China. And this
Fuck
railway was
me,
meant to reduce congestion on the highway that runs parallel to it, but it hasn't done that. In fact, this railway cuts right through like these two national parks.
While the train will offer
Fuck me. God damn, that's brutal, man.
It cuts right through like these two national
It really does. Like where the wild, like right in the wild.
parks.
Bro, look at this, man. Look, Kenya looks beautiful, by the way. Flipping hell. And he's got this long ass road and railway in between, but I guess you have to have, to a certain degree, you have to have travel like through it. But flipping heck, man. It's just one long strip.
While
through
the
this
train will
beautiful
offer
land.
passengers a view of a lifetime while passing through the national park, conservationists are concerned that this construction will affect the ecosystem and the wildlife that live here.
And it's actually not doing what it said it was going to do. So yes, Kenya has this big shiny railway, but it wasn't really solving African issues in the African way. Meanwhile, the Chinese construction workers who came to build this thing were caught treating the local workers very poorly, making them sit at separate tables during meal breaks,
Fucking-
punishing them when they didn't complete deadlines or take out the garbage on time. That mixed with the fact that some of these Chinese workers were taking bribes as a part of a huge corruption scheme with this railway. And it's clear that this project wasn't actually about supporting the local environment. It just left Kenya with a giant pile of debt and a big shiny railway. But listen, that's not always the case. There are tons of these projects, and some of them are truly helping the locals, like this big, beautiful, shiny road here in Lesotho. This used to be a rough gravel road, and it is now a beautiful, shiny road that is helping the locals move around in their country. So it's definitely a mixed bag. And listen, I get it. China, you want to give a $5 billion loan to Nigeria to build a dam because Nigeria has 200 million people, many of them young, and you want to help them become a booming economy so that you can get in on some of that growth. Oh, and you love the fact that you don't have to adhere to any environmental standards while you're doing these projects, which I know you love, China. I know
Yeah.
it. That's the business.
I remember
route.
learning that in geography, bro. Learning all the things that China did to their workers and shit. It wasn't good, obviously. I guess 99% of people know that, but one of the main things we learnt in geography, and it was not a good thing.
Now we're looking for new economies to
How they were
invest in
treated.
and be a part of their growth. But if you look a level deeper, you won't just see a bunch of investment projects. You'll see a bunch of free gifts from China. And I'm intrigued by especially the political ones. Like when China shows up and builds a new parliament building, which they've done for 7 countries in Africa. Or when China offers 32 million free dollars to build a new headquarters for ECOWAS, which is basically the economic union in Western Africa. They do this for free. We will build you a new headquarters. Well, let me be clear. There is no such thing as a free gift in international relations. Everything has strings attached. So a major part of all of this investment in Africa is China investing in its future as a global superpower who needs to have friends and has historically not had a lot of friends throughout the world because the big boy United States has been doing all the friending by giving people stuff and making their lives better so that they can be allies. So China is getting in on this. And China has used their checkbook to make friends with literally every single country in Africa. Of course, besides Swaziland, the teeny little country in the south that has been the one country that has held out on all of this. In funneling all of this money
enough.
into these countries, China has been able to get all of these countries, besides Swaziland, to not recognize Taiwan anymore and to support China
Jesus
instead.
Christ.
The TLDR on that is that you can't support Taiwan and China because they both think that they're China, so you have to support one or the other, and so China has been getting everyone to denounce Taiwan and say that they support China. That's a whole other thing. I'm making
That's
videos
so
about
mental,
that.
you know.
Suffice it to say that China has been using its checkbook to get all of these people to be their friends. It's sort of like the rich kid in middle school who like brings you an MP3 player because he wants you to be his friend, and you're like, sweet, if you give me your MP3 player, I'll be your friend. I grew up in the early 2000s. In my middle school, there were MP3 players, so sorry for the throwback. But remember when China built the African Union headquarters and then bugged the entire building so that they could spy on the leaders and their emails and their conversations? That is a perfect representation of the strings that are usually attached to these projects. But perhaps the less obvious but more dangerous strings attached are the debts.
Yeah. I wonder what's going to happen if they're
John
not paid
Adams
off.
said it best when he said, quote, "There are two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword and the other is by debt." It's a pretty intense quote, but it really applies here. So many of these projects have been paid for by Chinese money through loans. African nations diving deep into debt. We all know that when you owe someone money, that person has a lot of power over you, especially if you get to the point where you can't pay them back. And this isn't just theoretical. A few years ago, China helped Sri Lanka build a port here in the southeastern coast. It was done with a Chinese loan. With time, Sri Lanka struggled to pay back that loan. So in 2017, China swooped in and said, "Can't pay back your debt? No worries. Just lease us this port. Let us have it for 99 years. And Sri Lanka's like, that doesn't sound great, giving a piece of our sovereign territory to China, which they could potentially use for military, but we're in so much debt and they're offering to relieve some of that debt if we give them this port. Okay, so this port now belongs in part to China. This sets a dangerous precedent that could be applied to many of these nations in Africa who have sunk themselves deep into debt with China and may not be able to pay it back in the future. So China is growing and honestly behaving like any superpower would when they are growing this quickly. I mean, if we wanted to make a video about how the US is projected power throughout the years, it would be a lot worse of a video, okay? So let's just make it clear that China's a superpower, they're doing their superpower thing.
Bro, I wonder what the UK would be like from 200, 300 years ago. I wonder what that video would be like. Flipping hell.
Very normal superpower behavior. Doesn't make it right, it just makes it very normal and typical. China has taken a specific interest in Africa, which has led to countless infrastructure projects, which have been, honestly, an impressive sight to behold, but has raised questions of what are the actual motives here. They're not just business and economic. And the bigger question that I want to keep an eye on going forward is, how is all this debt going to play out? How will African nations who are so deeply indebted to China have to service that debt in the future? And what will happen if they can't pay it back? Okay,
God
before you
damn.
go, I want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video.
Get this money again. You love to see it. This is quite an old sponsor, so I'm not going to give it free. But it's a VPN. You know how VPNs are, man. But I'm happy for him to get his money. I'm Nigerian, and I know this is going to be a big issue for Africa going forward. Thanks for shedding, not shredding, some light on this. Love your videos. China, just lease us this port for 99 years. Britain be like, that boy's learning fast. For real, man. Johnny, nothing is free without no strings attached. Also, Johnny, so here's the 3 months of ExpressVPN. Gotta get your money, man. If you get something for free, you are not the client, you are the product. The Chinese government literally offered to install for them. Comedy gold. Yeah, man, it's pretty wild, but I guess, again, like you said, this is just how any superpower would act. But once again, another banger of a video. Flipping now, that was hard to say for me. And I mean, yeah, what do you want me to see next on this channel or from channels similar? I've been seeing this one pop up a lot, and I do want to see it, how Switzerland stayed neutral. I might react to that now and post it tomorrow. I don't know if it's too soon to react to one of those videos and then react to another one, but yeah, I think it could be an interesting video because I don't actually know why. But yeah, hopefully enjoyed. Until next time, like, subscribe, peace.